AITA for ruining my brother's wedding? Repost. My other one was taken down. Fake names. My 20F brother, Nate, 28 meters, is going to get married to his fiancée, Emily, 32F, in a week. I was extremely close to my brother growing up. He's my favorite out of all my siblings. However, when he started dating Emily, we kinda grew apart, but we still talk often. Emily, on the other hand, we don't get along at all. She hasn't done anything to me. I haven't done anything to her. We just don't see eye to eye on things. They're having a child-free wedding. But in Emily's eyes, a child is anyone under 21 years old. I know. Dumbass rule. Originally, I wasn't allowed to be there for the ceremony or reception. I told Nate how much it would hurt to not be there for his big day. So he ended up convincing Emily to let me stay for the ceremony. We had a family dinner earlier this week and Emily brought up that she would like to have a daycare service for the children of her guests at the wedding. And somehow, she mentioned that she would love for me and my boyfriend, 20 meters, to look over the kids. My BF and I love children. We're actually studying to become a teacher and pediatrician. We were on board with it until we heard that we'd be watching 40-ish kids for 6 hours and only get paid $50 each. We agreed that we'd do it for $150 each. But Emily insisted on her original offer. And then Nate got involved, saying he told Emily that we'd be happy to watch the children and it would save them a lot of money. And how it's too late for them to find a different sitter. The more I refused, the angrier Emily got. She proceeded to tell me that I was being a greedy, selfish brat, and that I should be paying her since she'd be giving me practice for my teaching career. And then she said that if I don't do this, I will ruin her wedding and won't be welcome at the ceremony. At this point, the dinner's ruined. My BF's uncomfortable. I'm pissed. And the entire restaurant is staring at our table because Emily's practically screaming. We paid for our food and went home. Now here's where I may be an asshole. I honestly don't care about babysitting. In fact, I would probably do it for free. My entire family knows this. That's why they're so mad at me right now. My phone has been blowing up all evening, telling me that I should want to do anything that will make my brother's wedding perfect and I'm being a childish asshole. Sure, it sucks I'll probably not be at the wedding. But I'm sick of Emily being a bitch to me. I feel bad for putting Nate in this position and I hope this doesn't ruin our relationship too much. But it is what it is. I know I'm being kinda childish about this. However, I do not think I'm being an asshole. So, what do you guys think? Am I the asshole for ruining my brother's wedding and potentially our relationship? NTA. And I think you and your boyfriend need to decline the invitation to the wedding, both the ceremony and reception. Make plans to be elsewhere. In Emily's eyes, a child is anyone under 21 years old. I know. Dumbass rule. Originally, I wasn't allowed to be there for the ceremony or reception. Remind people that Emily tried to ban you as you were under 21. At that point you could have planned to go away. What would have happened then? They'd have had to get alternate babysitters. She didn't want you and now you're not going. So why is she complaining? Throw this back in your family's face. Every single time. They were happy for you to be excluded originally. Apart from your brother, they have no grounds to complain. NTA. This whole situation is ridiculous. Excluding a 20-year-old sibling of the groom because a wedding is child-free is ridiculous. Expecting you to do really hard work for almost no money while you're being excluded is ridiculous. Stick to your guns now, because this is the kind of person who will push boundaries forever if you don't. So you, a 20-year-old, can't attend your brother's wedding because it's child-free, but you have to babysit 40 kids? And do it practically for free? Because Nate, who you're close to, told his fiancée you would without checking with you? And now your family is insisting you're ruining the wedding because you refused? 1. Nate is an ass. His fiancée is being an absolute brat to his sister and he's doing nothing to stop it. If his wedding is ruined, they're the cause, not you. Point 2. It would appear that Nate is not as close to you as you think. 3. It's bad enough they voluntold you. How dare they plan your BF's time for him too? 4. The fact that they're pushing despite your refusal is a sign they're bigger than we initially thought. Don't back down, op. Begin as you mean to go along with Emily. If you give in now, you'll end up being the de facto doormat sitter. Tell Nate you're sorry to miss his wedding, but you'll be there for his next. NTA. WTF? They don't want you to attend the wedding, but you're allowed to work it? If she thinks 21 is a child, tell her it's irresponsible to have a child in charge of 40 other children and decline. NTA. Your brother is awful. Emily is even worse. I'd skip the whole damn thing and go out for a nice dinner with your boyfriend. NTA. And you probably don't get along with Emily because she seems exceedingly entitled and ungrateful. It's not about the money though. It's a matter of safety. 40 kids. And I'm guessing the ages vary wildly. Is not feasible for 2 adults. Across 6+ hours. This isn't within the context of a classroom. Or an athletic team. And shame on all the parents for bringing kids with them when they knew they couldn't attend. And, without making arrangements. Is the drinking age only rule weird? Yeah. Does Emily sound unbearable? Yes. Is your family only interested in berating you into being free childcare because it directly benefits them? Yes. I'd skip the wedding and go to a spa with your so. It's absolute horse shit that your brother had to convince his future spouse to let you attend when you're 20. WTF? NTA. 40 kids for 2 people for 6 hours isn't just unreasonable, it's a recipe for disaster. If anything happens to any of those children, it will be on your head. This seems like it's just another way for Emily to exclude you from the wedding. NTA. She's an entitled brat and your brother is an idiot for putting up with her. Tell them to go fuck themselves and raise a glass while doing it. NTA. And Emily sounds dreadful. You're an adult by pretty much any reasonable measure. At least with regards to this occasion. And she is infantilizing and condescending to you in ways that are egregiously obnoxious. I'm shocked that your family are okay with this. First of all, the only reason most people have child-free weddings in the first place is to avoid the disruption that comes with having children around. Which is why sometimes even older teens are exempt. The idea that a 20-year-old would be disruptive or not know how to behave at a wedding and shouldn't be invited as a child makes no sense whatsoever. Excluding you in the first place is odd and petty. And pretty much indefensible. As for asking you to take care of 40 children for 6 hours, that's a huge responsibility, even for someone with professional training. Asking you to do it at all, while simultaneously excluding you from your own brother's wedding is rude. Asking you to do it for $50 a piece, which is less than most preteen babysitters would get to watch 1 or 2 kids for an evening, is outrageous. And suggesting that you need practice for your career is, well, a bit offensive. You'll have teachers' college practicums for that. You don't need her to do you a favor with a vastly underpaid wedding babysitting gig. You're being treated incredibly disrespectfully. And the least they could do is pay you a reasonable amount for the huge favor they're asking of you. NTA, for what it's worth, I'm sure his second wedding will be way more fun for you and your BF. NTA, it appears that Emily could not find another way to keep you from the wedding, so she found a backdoor solution to put you to work. You will miss meaningful parts of the ceremony and reception. Emily is a devious sorry for all the future issues we can all see coming your way. NTA. Emily is the villain. Emily is the drama, and she is 100% the in this story. You are not a child at 20 years old, and you are the groom's sister. In what world would you not be invited to the ceremony? That is mind-blowing. Asking you to babysit 40-plus children over 6 hours for $50 isn't asking a favor, that is far beyond what any reasonable person would ask of another. A ratio of 2 adults to 40 kids sounds like a recipe for disaster. It's not the bride and groom's responsibility to find a babysitter for their guests' kids, especially when they clearly can't afford to do it. I honestly do not understand why they would want you doing this rather than enjoying the wedding with you when you are so close to the groom. NTA. Apart from anything else, that's an unreasonable number of unfamiliar mixed-age kids for 2 people to supervise. Plus, it still would have excluded you from the wedding. And the pay she offered was ridiculous. Everything Emily asked of you was unfair and unkind. That your brother thought it reasonable is really sad. I'm sorry. You're not being childish. NTA. Your brother's fiancé is a grade A level 10 NTA. You and your BF are considered children because you are under 21. And children aren't invited to the wedding. If you are children, you are far too young to be the only ones responsible for 40 actual children, many of whom you probably don't know and who don't know you. Plus, how many toddlers? Infants? Will toys or snacks be available? What happens if some children need naps? This whole situation is a disaster waiting to happen, and I'm sure you'll both be criticized heavily for doing it wrong, and get told you won't succeed in your careers because you can't work with children. Do not be the babysitters. Do not attend the wedding. Ask your relatives who'd be willing to miss a sibling's wedding to babysit. Tell them to volunteer, and ignore all the criticism. I made my mind up after your brother had to convince her to let you come to the ceremony because you are 20 years old. Anything after that just is what it is. NTA. NTA. But how are they having a child-free wedding but now need a babysitter? NTA. Her ask is both ridiculous. No one can watch that many kids responsibly, and wildly insulting to a family member who should be part of the celebration. I can't imagine why your brother would have entertained the idea for a second, and every single member of your family should be backing you up on this and telling her she's ridiculous. Do not babysit, even if they pay you the price you asked for. It's straight up bullshit to treat the 20-year-old sister of the groom as a child, who isn't allowed at the child-free wedding, but then expect that child to serve as babysitter for 40 actual children. As the groom's sister, you should be attending both the ceremony and reception. NTA. If you go along with this, expect to be treated like a second-class family member by this couple for the rest of the time they are married. NTA. And I am so sorry you are being treated this way. You're an invited guest to the wedding. You are busy and unavailable to babysit. Emily sounds like she's trying to ensure you don't actually participate, enjoy the wedding. But more than that, she's trying to separate you from your brother.
If you enjoyed this video, Please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.